President Joe Biden has just announced today that he was pulling out of the 2024 campaign following a weeks-long pressure from his fellow Democrat Party, which criticized his debate performance in late June. Joe Biden took to Twitter and said, "I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down." He also added that he plans to address the nation later this week, but made it clear that he intends to finish out the last 3 months of his term in office. In a separate post following his announcement, Joe Biden wrote that he is endorsing his vice president, Kamala Harris, to be the Democratic nominee for president. "Democrats," he said, "it's time to come together and beat Trump." He wrote, "Let's do this again." Even though we know Biden's exit from the presidential race comes less than a month before the Democrats are scheduled to hold their nominating convention in Chicago starting on August the 19th, it also raises questions about who will replace him at the top of the ticket and how that person will be picked and whether that person has a better shot at defeating former President Donald Trump. Some people are raising the question, does Kamala Harris automatically replace Joe Biden? According to information, no. For one reason, Biden is still the president and says he has no plans to step down until after his term ends in January 2025. Harris's government role as vice president elevates her in the event that Biden vacates the presidency itself, not his campaign. The Democratic National Convention has its own process for selecting presidential nominees in this type of scenario, and Harris would have to follow it to secure the presidential nomination. Now, at the same time, they still have other possible presidential nominees, and some of the most frequent names that were cited included President Kamala Harris, of course, because she's already the VP, Governor Gavin Newsom, Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Illinois' Governor J.B. Pritzker, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, and also Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, which is a former NASA astronaut, which some say has emerged as a dark horse contender. And we know for sure, for certain, that finding out that President Joe Biden was stepping down, the Republicans had to go on their bash campaign, which me personally, I will say this is not a bash campaign. This video in no way, shape, form, or fashion is to bash President Joe Biden or ex-President Donald Trump. This is just reporting of the news. This is reporting what they're saying. And definitely for Joe Biden, I feel for him. He's a 81-year-old man, and all of us out here better hope we get 81 years old and be able to do any of what he's doing. But I also understand, because my mother's 81 years old, and you do tend to slip a little bit mentally, and I'm going to leave that right there. But anyway, the Republicans didn't waste no time and took straight to Twitter and went to work. Donald Trump, he, first up to bat, he said crooked Joe Biden was not fit to run for president and is certainly not fit to serve, and never was. The former president wrote this on his Twitter. House Speaker Mike Johnson of Louisiana said, "At this unprecedented juncture in American history, we must be clear about what just happened. The Democrat Party forced the Democrat nominee off the ballot just over 100 days before the election, having invalidated the votes of more than 14 million Americans who selected Joe Biden." Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri wrote this. He said, "Now the Democrats are rigging their own elections. Republican Elise Stefanik of New York said if Joe Biden can't run for re-election, he is unable and unfit to serve as President of the United States. He must immediately resign. Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky said that inevitable is now a reality. Biden dropping out will chaos consume the Democrats' party? And Donald Trump Jr. wrote, Kamala Harris owns the entire left-wing policy record of Joe Biden. The only difference is that she is even more liberal and less competent than Joe, which is really saying something. And people, in my humble pie, I'll say this. This is big, big, big. But nowadays the world is big. Strange things happen. Strange things are known to happen. And this is one of those events that's like, whoa, what? Never heard of. So we have to brace ourselves moving forward for things that are never heard of, for things you wouldn't even think would exist, because they do. And something like this, I don't believe there ever was a president that was going for re-election that had dropped out. Even though he has good reason for dropping out, don't get me wrong, because mental health is real. And it's a blessing. He's still here. He's still able to see this thing manifest, whether it manifests in his favor or not. President Joe Biden said enough is enough. Vice President Kamala Harris, he says I endorses her. But the spin on that is that's not how the system works. They have other people in line for it. And has America ever? No, America has never had a woman president that I know of. Not in my time. I've never known America to have a woman president. So that's another thing that we have to see too. Because when I watch a lot of those period pieces, it gives you an insight of how these countries are ran. And I'll leave that at that. But like I say, President Joe Biden is out of the race. I pray for the brother, you know. Health is wealth. Don't bash that man. He did what most of us probably could never do. And with that, I'm going to say this is the news in you. North, east, west, south, unite from every alley and Cali, intersection and back street. Subscribe to the channel and hit the thumbs up on your way out the door.
Star child, I never
seen the sunshine like this.
I never
Never seen the moon glow like
Hey yo,
this.
I never